Ladies and gentlemen, we have some injury news to talk about, and finally, it's good news this time. We also have a Wake Forest game to look forward to that's a ranked matchup and more on this episode of Locked On Seminoles.
Let's ride.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Seminoles, another undefeated episode of Locked On Seminoles. I'm your host today, Dave. Right here with me, I have Drake. Drake, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, my guy. Doing well, my guys. Thankfully, the hurricane's finally gone past everybody. I texted my brother this morning. Everything's doing well. But yeah, hopefully everyone's staying safe out there overall. And basically, I'm ready to talk about some FSU football that for a Wake Forest game that's still going to be being played this Saturday.
Yeah, that's the first thing we got to say here at the top of the hour, obviously. Thank you for being here. I hope everybody's all right. Hope you have been minimally impacted by the hurricane, you and everyone you love. That said, we do have some Florida State football to talk about. This game is not canceled. It's going forward, much to the chagrin of Dave Clausen. Drake, we have some injury news. A couple guys that I think we could really use to see back in the lineup that we haven't had a chance to see this year. Tell everybody who we might be able to see here pretty soon.
So Amari Ferrari is back, which is actually super, super nice because Amari Gainer, where we discussed basically ad nauseum on here that the linebacker depth was something that we kind of had to keep an eye on because we haven't been able to really fill up that role or fill up that position group primarily from recruiting. We've seen what's the word I'm looking for? The lack of recruiting when it came to Chris Marf here, and then also Ray Shannon in his place, even though Ray Shannon has done a really good job bringing in Tatum Bethune as well as Blake Nicholson, the linebacker commit from a few weeks ago. Yeah. So to me, to see Amari Gainer back, someone that can spell Tatum Bethune, Caden Delos so they're not on the field the entire time, and also with Didi Lundy as well, that's actually it's going to be a huge, huge get for us as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Kalen Deloach seems to be becoming like a darling of the national media for his ability to run sideline to sideline, just mainly for his effort against Malik Cunningham, who I think I saw a graphic today is the only quarterback in college football with 700 passing yards and 350 rushing yards. Yeah, and Kalen Deloach did a pretty good job on his own against that. So did Tatum Bethune. This linebacker room is one of the most improved units on the team this year, and in large part due to Kalen Deloach's development and Tatum Bethune being here, but can really use a guy like Amari Gainer. We've been playing a lot of DJ Lundy. He's not done a terrible job, obviously, but the more guys
actually, I think he's actually our best linebacker against Louisville, graded out wise at PFF.
He's done a much better job than I think a lot of us thought he would. You had high hopes for him going into this season, but we can always use more guys to rotate in and out of the lineup. It's what's really helped us along the defensive line this year, and it's something I think a lot of opposing teams just don't have the depth to match up with. So if we can have that in the linebacker room too, that is just only going to help this defense ascend to where we thought they would be. But other side of the ball, more injury news, Drake. What else we got?
So Jakai Douglas, I believe, is actually back in running routes and actually individual drills. I know Brendan Sonone over 247 reported that. And that's going to be huge too because our wide receiver room has been probably the highlight of the year of the team besides Jordan Travis, from going from an average passer to, at this point, an elite passer. I think we can confidently all say that overall. So to me, to see Jakai Douglas actually in practice overall, that's the guy that it was funny that we've always said, we don't pass the ball to him enough because it's like we give him one wheel route every 2 games. It's always for an 80-yard score. So to me, him coming back at practice is very good. And then also you hear reports and see that Winston Wright is not only returning kick returns, but actually is also bringing back individual drills. Now, the question begs to remain that if both of them are coming back, whose snaps are they taking away? Because Ontario Wilson's looked good. Johnny Wilson has looked good. Micah Pittman has been a pit bull and a dog out there, like a baby Debo, like we've been saying. So it's really good to see that actually the depth pieces coming back because this FSU team has been hurt for a pretty long while this season.
Yeah. You know what's a really good problem to have? How do we get more talent into an already talented receiving room? Because that is not something we've been able to say. I mean, we would have killed, I think, last year and most years preceding this one for 2 wide receivers that we could just trust and that can burn opposing defenses. Right now, it's just a pick your poison. Winston Wright, we thought before the year, might be the best receiver among the bunch. He was an all Big 12 player, and I still have really high hopes for him, and you probably should too. Jakai Douglas also. I mean, yeah, he's been used as a gadgety player, but in that role, he's been super effective. I'd like to think, like a lot of the other guys, he's probably grown in the offseason a little bit. Maybe not height-wise because he's a little guy, but dude's quick.
He's mega mind, man. He's mega mind.
And he gets open, and that's what matters. So, yes, please give me all the wide receivers we can get into this lineup, all the talented wide receivers we can get. Keep cycling those guys in and out and just getting these opposing DBs tired. This may not be a big impact against Wake, but going forward as we get into this ACC schedule, we're going to need guys like that. And we've been very lucky, I think, with the injury luck at the receiver position. All we've really seen is Darian Williamson got injured in this last game after getting to 99 yards, which was just so unfortunate because he was having a game for himself.
That kid, like, you can definitely see the talent is there, and apparently the issue with him is that he's never been able to have a clean bill of health for a full, long period of time. But you definitely saw with the route running, his quick feet, and as well as basically his body control. The kid actually has the goods to be a really good player here. Just hopefully he can stay on the field healthy.
Yeah. So that being said, I mean, getting on the field and staying healthy, we're talking here about a couple guys coming back in the wide receiver room, another guy in the important linebacker room. Fabian Lovett, really would love to see him get healthy. I think that's the biggie for me. Jordan Travis appears to be fully healthy after that last game. I didn't see him miss a step, so that's incredible. Yeah, we're getting blessed a little bit with some of the injury luck after a crappy start to the season, losing a couple offensive linemen. So, Drake, I'd be willing to bet that getting all these guys back is going to help us. What would you be willing to bet?
Well, I'd be willing to bet a few things, but first, folks, let's thank our friends and our title sponsor for today's show, our friends over at Bet Online. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your latest sports action. As always, folks, it is time for the Fade Dave segment of the week, of the month, of the millennium. Dave has a very, very big love affair with one head coach in particular. This is one of his probably, if he can call someone a mentor, he will call us one specifically a mentor person. Here's a picture of him over his bedside table. The Michigan Wolverines travel to Iowa this weekend. And I just had the line. Give me 1 second. There it is. Michigan is an 11-point favorite against Iowa. Iowa, the offense, I'm pretty sure, ranks in the bottom 25. The over-under right now currently is 42.5. I will be taking the under in that game because Iowa can't score. Dave, what are you going to do about your best friend, Jim Harbaugh?
Okay, Drake. So not to get political here, but do you remember for this last election cycle, you saw people with bumper stickers that instead of saying like Biden or Trump, they just said like asteroid 2022 or 2020?
No, I didn't see that.
That's how I feel about this football game. As you know, I hate Jim Fraudbaugh, terrible coach, terrible football team. Iowa, perennially a terrible football team. Nothing they do will ever matter. Either of these teams, really. Again, probably Michigan more likely to matter, but still not going to happen. I'm going to take Michigan in this game, as much as I hate that, solely because Iowa can't score more than 6 points in this game. Michigan will score probably, 20, which is still pretty embarrassing. 20-6. That's the score.
20-6. God, that's going to be a horrible, horrible football game. That's Big Ten football for you folks. So, folks, head over to Bet Online today to place your bets in today. Use promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON to get a 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Once again, folks, Bet Online, head on over. Promo code Locked On. LOCKEDON. Bet Online is where the game starts.
All right, we are rocking. We are rolling. Thank you again for making us here at Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Now, we are looking forward to Wake Forest. This is a bizarre matchup because it almost feels like, we're not a rival of theirs. They're not a rival of ours. But it almost feels like it's ascending towards that kind of status with this game in light of how many games we've dropped against them in recent years. Wake has for Florida State, except for in 2006 when that caused a regime change basically at Florida State single-handedly. Wake Forest has been a pushover, both for Florida State and in the conference. And that is no longer the status right now. Dave Clawson's done a great job there, and he has his quarterback. A lot of people are wondering right now if Jimbo Fisher's in the spot he's in because of a quarterback or a couple quarterbacks, mostly Jameis Winston. Maybe the answer is yes. I don't know, but I could tell you that having Sam Hartman is most certainly not hurting Dave Clawson and what he's done for Wake Forest in recent years. Drake, what are your, I guess, first big picture thoughts that you would think you would want people to know about Wake Forest if they didn't know anything about them right now?
I probably would let them know that they probably have the best wide. They probably have. If heading into this year, I would have said that the best wide receiver room in the conference. Heading into this year, currently, right now, I believe that's ourselves with we, and also PFF does back us up. We're the number one grade wide receiver room in the entire country, and that includes Ohio State, who's been churning out wide receivers left and right. So to me, basically, you need to respect this Wake Forest offense. They've always had players, whether it be Sage Surratt from a few years ago, Jakar Roberson from the past seasons. He's actually now in the NFL. And now with A.T. Perry, all touchdowns Perry, and Jamal Banks. Now we're going to have Cam Lemons-DeBro on for tomorrow's show. We're going to do a deeper dive analytically. But to me, FSU fans need to understand that these wide receivers are not a joke. That these kids can ball, these kids can play. And it helps because Sam Hartman, because I think Ingram Smith said it best in the Nolecast, where he with the way he places the ball, he throws it like a grenade or a mortar, where it's not a jump ball. It's literally only where his wide receiver can get it, and that's really, really a testament to how good Sam Hartman is, and also why his offense has been pretty much top 15 for the past 4 years.
Yeah, that's a dangerous combination, especially when you're talking about a Florida State defense that kind of reminds me a little bit of that Mark Stoops bend but don't break, because they've done such a great job keeping everything in front of them, which is good because you probably won't let Sam Hartman beat you over the top. But I don't know that that's necessarily what he either is trying to do or what he has to do anyways. Like you said, if he's putting the ball where only his receivers can get it, and he's effective at those passes, from like 0 to 10 yards or 0 to 7 yards, we're not going to let them run by us most likely, but if they're catching those all day, that's going to be a problem. So going to be a good, tough task for this defensive backcourt. We're going to learn a lot about their growth. We both had high hopes about that unit going into the season. But it's what's interesting about Wake's receiving core is if you go look at their PFF grades, for example, their best game of the season, their only game of the season with a grade over 75 came this past week against Clemson. So they played their best game against the best defense they'll face all year, most likely, and one of the best defenses in the country. That is definitely a wide receiver room to be scared of.
But hey, I will say that Clemson secondary was down 3 starters. That is an important caveat to have for that.
Right. Okay. Well, here's the thing about this Wake Forest team. I don't know what to make of this right now, but their defense is pretty neck and neck, or if not better than their offense so far this year, which it feels weird to say that. If you look up their grades, their defense grades out significantly higher than their offense in pretty much every measurable category. I'd like to know what's behind that. This is why we're bringing a guy like Cam Lemons-DeBro on, because that doesn't make sense to me. I've watched this Wake defense the past 3 years, and I know what we're getting in them. I'd just be really hard pressed to believe that all changed. But yeah, man, go look at their grades on defense. This is why we have this conversation, because I mean they graded a 78 against Clemson. That's take out their first 3 games: VMI, Vandy, and Liberty. Like those are 3 BS games to start scheduling your year with. But Clemson, they graded a 78, run defense 77, tackling not great 66, pass rush 70, coverage 75. Those are all solid numbers against a Clemson team that looks like it could score a hell of a lot more than it could last year. So yeah, it still feels like because of those first 3 games of the year, what's going to happen is you're going to play a Florida State and they're going to go out and score on you, and those grades are going to go down. But to this point this year, through 4 games, that defense has technically outplayed that offense. Does that surprise you?
It does, because I actually watch Wake Forest football. This is one of those times where, like, I like PFF. I think it's a good supplement, but sometimes, like, you kind of have to, like, take the numbers with a grain of salt, because if you do watch the defense, they're still, like, it's a much improved defense from last year. But then again, the bar, as Cans Cooper from Locked On AC would say, the bar wasn't hell, because the bar was very, very low actually when it came to their defense overall, how they would play. It's the offense has still been probably the bread and butter for that team, especially now with Sam Hartman coming back after missing the first week. Even though I will say the backup Mitch Griffiths actually did look pretty good against VMI, even though it was VMI. But to me, the defense definitely has stepped up a little bit more. I think Malik Mustafa, he's the safety for them. He's been kind of their captain of the entire defense overall. And then you have Rondell Bothroyd, who's the defensive end, who is one of the players for me I probably will need to watch out for. And Cam will talk about a little more tomorrow, that this defense is improved. It is no longer this really, really porous defense, but it's still a defense that will give up big plays. It will give up long scoring drives. You saw it against Clemson. And I know Clemson is still, Clemson forever was saying that. Clemson doesn't have these elite weapons on the outside. There's that secondary still have some issues overall. So to me, the defense isn't better. I know the grades wise, the defense looks better than the offense. The offense for Wake Forest is the more dangerous thing, because the Wake Forest offense is how they kind of it's their boom or bust for them. Either the offense scores or they lose the game. That's how Wake Forest has been the past few years, and that's what I'm going to see actually coming for the Saturday.
Yeah, it feels like we keep playing teams that have this, but Wake Forest has guys like Kobe Turner and Rondell Bothroyd, who, I mean, Kobe Turner, he's going to be a problem. He's a graded 84 kind of guy in pass rush. Rondell Bothroyd got at a 89, so they got a couple guys that can get after the quarterback. Because you would like to see Jordan Travis play from a clean pocket against typical Wake defenses. You would think no problem. Especially if this offensive line and pass rush are improved, which remains to be seen. I think that's still a work in progress so far this year, the pass rush or the pass pro. So yeah, I think I'm not worried about this Wake defense, but I also think that it's different. It's probably different than last year and the year before that.
Yeah, it's not that you should be worried about them. It's more that, like, from last year, we're like, oh, this Wake defense sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, come on. They gave up, what did I say last week? They gave up 56 points against Army. A triple option team that's designed to bleed the clock out. You gave up 50 damn points to a triple option team.
Impressive.
It's extremely impressive. So to me, it's not a team that you should worry about, but it's definitely a defense that it's a defense you need to respect. I think that's more what you gotta say. Like, you can't just walk over them, you can't glance over them. They're not elite by any sense, but they are a pretty decent defense.
It's not this Boston College defense we just played this past week where
I think Boston College's defense is probably a little stronger than this one.
That's a bold statement. I don't know that I've seen a defense in college football.
I mean, Boston College is pretty bad, though, so that's a fair point.
I've watched plenty of games this year. I don't know that I've seen a defense as porous as what I just saw this past Saturday, where Jordan Travis could take the snap and literally have a selection of 4 open receivers he could throw to at his leisure.
Where you say porous, I say we have an elite offense. That's that's where I'll stand off for that one. That's our elite offense and our Heisman Trophy candidate QB at work. So I'll say that.
Sure, maybe. I'm not doing Jeff Hapley any favors. I just, I hope he stays there for a good while, because that's going to make BC a nice little doormat for us as long as we're still in this here conference. All right, we are back, and we are here for our third and final segment. And Drake, we have some Jordan Travis to talk, I think, because it's no longer just a Tallahassee kind of thing for Jordan Travis here. He's starting to get the national hype. I think was it Tom Luganbill, the ESPN college football guy, or is he the NFL draft guy that was talking about how Jordan Travis is the most improved player in college football, and it's not even close, is what he said.
I believe so. I mean, that's correct too. So
yeah, it's you'll find plenty of people this year who I think talked positively enough and had high hopes enough about Jordan Travis these past few years that they would tell you they're not surprised by his ascent this year. I think anybody has to be surprised by just how good he's gotten, because he's not a good passer. He's now a great passer based on what we've seen this year. He hasn't had to do as much with his legs, although I think he showed on a couple plays that it's still there. I think it's intentional, the design to keep him from doing those run plays too much. That was getting him injured too often. And plus, when you're this good with your arm, why run the ball, right?
I mean, there's no point in doing that also, but like it showcases that he definitely has taken like a step forward. Like, I mean, you're also correct, Dave. I mean, like there were a lot of people out there to discuss basically how Jordan Travis is a very, very good passer, and then actually heading into the year, he was better than the numbers indicated. And then but I don't think anyone out there at all probably would have stated that how big of a jump this would have been, because now he's actually parlaying this into potentially being an NFL caliber prospect. And that's something that I don't think anyone anywhere at all would actually had on their mind, because the leap that he has taken, no one saw this coming. People saw him becoming a better passer. And by better, I mean probably increasing completion percentage, actually having weapons on the outside that like to showcase his talents, and also less drops, which is fair. And also like I mean, Dave, you and I, probably more me especially too, didn't believe that was kind of the case. I kind of saw him more as a mediocre to maybe average passer overall heading into the season, and he's proved my fat ass wrong. So to me overall, like, he is taking a full step forward, and now he's the reason why his team is also not only 4-0, but that we're actually having aspirations of potentially winning 10 games, and also probably maybe potentially at least competing for the division and maybe the conferences overall. So to me, this is definitely a showcase how Jordan is an elite football player. He's one of the top players in the country, the most dynamic playmakers out there, and we're lucky to have him on this team.
Yeah, go through the list of it. We did this exercise before the season of going through the list of ACC quarterbacks and saying who we would consider trading Jordan Travis for. And it's funny because that exercise, I think, resulted in me saying maybe two quarterbacks I would trade him for in the ACC.
Well, also because you're a hater.
Yeah, I know, but I had enough belief in Jordan Travis that I thought he'd improve, but I don't think anybody saw this quickly of his rise to college football prominence.
I don't know about quickly, but how big of a jump it is. Like it's literally, I think people like probably had him go into like, okay, he can definitely be like a top 30 QB. No, this man right now is a top 5 quarterback in the country.
He is, yeah.
Like if it wasn't for Hendon Hooker, what he's doing over in Tennessee, he definitely probably would be getting that hype.
Yeah, I mean, so you look around the ACC right now, and who would you take over Jordan Travis? It's not Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman's having one of the worst years of his career, based on the advanced stats. So, who? Malik Cunningham, the one that we went out there and beat. You're not taking him over Jordan Travis. Not DJU. He's got a lot more to prove to me, despite the good game he just had. I don't think you're taking any quarterback in the ACC over Jordan Travis right now. The national media is really starting to pick up on this because it's to a point where you can't ignore it anymore. We're ranked. Jordan Travis is playing the best football of his career, among the best in the country and top of the ACC. And that's backed up. Jordan Travis right now is the number 3 rated quarterback in the country. Also per PFF, number 4 graded passer in the country. That's the kind of thing you expect after like maybe we start the year with a cupcake game and it's like, okay, cool, we're at the top of the quarterback list. What Mike Norvell's done with a guy that I think a lot of people saw as like a system quarterback, like maybe he could be a decent college quarterback because he's good with his legs, but like who knows if he'll ever be able to throw a football.
I wouldn't even go that far. I think a lot of people saw him more like as just a running back. If we're being honest, like people didn't see him as an actual threat. Like we didn't go that far because we did see that he actually had a decent arm. But you definitely just had folks out there saying that basically you have a running back playing QB. Like that people had very little low hopes for Jordan Travis.
Yeah, I got to give credit to the staff. I mean, I talked a lot of crap about the hire of Tony Tokars. I don't know.
We all did. We all did.
I still probably will, if I'm being honest with you. But and just hire a guy that somebody's heard of before. Like hire a guy that his parents have heard of. But maybe you can't. I don't know. Anywho, Mike Norvell, just what a job with Jordan Travis. He also did a job. Who was his quarterback at Memphis? Was it Kevin White?
Brady White. He had Brady White.
Mike Norvell seems to have an ability to really squeeze the most juice out of his quarterbacks because White was not a good quarterback. Drake, you talked plenty crap about him back when we were doing our Knowles Anonymous podcast, and he just was bad. And Mike Norvell got the most out of that guy. He's doing the most out of Jordan Travis, but that's not to take credit away from Jordan Travis, who's obviously put the work in, is continuing to put the work in, and has not slowed down one step this year. It'll be interesting to see in these games that are going to be closer and are going to matter, like against Wake Forest, the extent to which he has to use his legs more. It'll be nice to see that they're still there. I think we all know that they are, but you're going to need to see him in the next few weeks. 3 straight ranked matchups. You're going to need those legs in addition to that arm. I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to see it either. And also, I think it's a testament to how Jordan has been able to keep his body out of harm's way and actually stay fully healthy. One of the biggest concerns actually probably heading the year for myself was, is Jordan going to actually be able to play a full season? And we all had the mini panic attack, during the Louisville game. I think Max texted us, you texted me, like everybody texted me like in the group chat. Hey, that was fun. Right when he got his ankle rolled up, and then he goes out and then just delivers probably one of the most thorough carvings of a defense you'll ever see from a QB. He set a career high in passing yards over 321 yards. I never thought he actually would get the opportunity to throw 321 yards because he doesn't throw the ball that often, but now he actually does. And I think you're right that this next 3 games are going to be a test to actually see where Jordan is probably moving forward, because these are solid teams. You're playing up against 3 ranked opponents. You're playing up against a top 25 team in Wake, a top 10 team in
the country.
Yep,
and,
a top what?
And one of the best defenses in the country.
2 of the best defenses in the country, both NC State and Clemson, and both of them are top 10 teams. Clemson is almost a top 5 team. So overall, to me, this is where we'll see actually how big of a step Jordan has improved. But quite honestly, after watching the first 4 games, there's nothing really on tape or overall that makes me concerned that he actually isn't fit for the test.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And the last thing I want to say about this is last year we gave an awful lot of credit to Jashaun Corbin and Trayshawn Ward for running the ball like they did, despite and in spite of laughably bad run blocking. We have to point out that Jordan Travis is doing what he's doing through the air, despite having the 95th best pass protection in the country. That's bad. Hasn't mattered one bit. Jordan Travis has managed anyways. That is incredible. You guys are incredible. Thank you again for joining us here on Locked On Seminoles. Drake, tell everybody where to find our podcast and on YouTube.
Folks, you can find us our podcast either on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast from. And don't forget the 5-star reviews on all of them. And on YouTube, please head on over to the Locked On Seminoles YouTube page. Like this video, hit the subscribe button at the tippy top, and ding the little bell so you know when new content drops. And Dave, I'm apparently hearing that actually Miami is actually an underdog in their bye week this week, so hopefully we can put some bets on that real quick.
Yeah, Miami's going to be an underdog to a lot of teams this year. God, that team is bad. We are not. We are thankful you are here. This was another edition of Locked On Seminoles. I'm Dave. That was Drake, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody, and stay safe out there, everybody.
Yes, going old.